Awesome. So what made the two of you want to run for president and vice?
I wanted to run for president when I heard you give your speech at freshman convocation this past fall. I was sitting in the stands as an RA, and it just felt like it was a role that I could take on this next year, and I was inspired to, I've been thinking about it since last fall, and I was inspired to step up.
Aw, that's really sweet. Cool. And what about you?
I actually wanted to be a senator last year, and unfortunately I struggled with putting all of the pieces together, and it was only like last month that Lauren walked into our political science class and she was like, so are you like gonna run for vice president with me? And I was like, this is it, this is the sign. And so it was kind of just like all the pieces came together, and I feel like that's kind of how we did it.
Awesome. Cool. So what kind of leadership roles have the two of you taken on in your time here at Fort Lewis?
I have been a resident assistant for 2 years. This year I was promoted to a senior resident assistant, and that's within the Student Housing and Conference Services Department. So I've been an advocate for residents, I've been an advocate for my fellow staff members. I've been a leader amongst the department as far as my involvement. This is my second year on the Residence Director Selection Committee, and so I've been in charge of hiring my potential supervisors, which has been a good leadership experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm actually a member of the senior orientation staff, so that's like the 4 people that kind of work with Patrick and Elizabeth to like create orientation, and so it's kind of a step up from being an orientation leader and a big leadership role for the campus because you have to like put it all together. But I'm also a double major in technical theater as well, and I'm a stage manager in my department, which is basically the person that like, does all the paperwork, gets like the team together, and kind of is the leader throughout the entire show. So I think that's probably where my biggest strength in leadership here on campus is.
Awesome. So the two of you are tied pretty close to campus. Lauren, what makes you qualified to be the president? That's a hard question.
I think it's my experience advocating for residents. I know the president is more of the face of the student body, and I feel as though I'm an affable leader. I feel as though I'm somebody who you can come to with any problem or solution, and I will help make it a reality. And so I think my experience advocating in the past will carry over into this role.
Awesome. So have either of you been involved in student government before?
On this campus, neither of us have, but in my past I was really involved with student government in my high school. I was my student body president senior year, and then continued that throughout my lower years in high school. And then I attend the CHASA summer camp every year as a camp counselor for all of the other Colorado high schools. So I definitely have dabbled with student government for a lot of my life.
Awesome. What are the biggest campus issues that you would like to address?
I think communication between student leaders and students, and I think every issue boils down to communication because it can all be solved through voicing your concerns, and so I hope that we can be that approachable leader team that people can come to in order to solve those problems.
Okay. Are there any particular issues that are bothering you guys that you'd like to change right now, or something you thought about?
Good question.
I think one of the bigger problems that I see in our community stems off of this communication that we were talking about. But I often hear from different niches of our community that like someone's having a problem, but they don't know who to go to, or like they don't really see student government as really like an avenue for them to go to talk to their problems, because I think that we're just concerned with like making overall legislation. And kind of our tagline for this campaign is like creating a leader in everyone. And so when we do that, we mean like if there's a problem in pick anything, that person feels that they can like come and talk to us. And there's lots of little problems that add up to overall like people not being satisfied with the community and the atmosphere of Fort Lewis College. So if we can take each of those problems like head on, I think that will overall like solve a lot of problems.
Certainly. Cool. Why do you think student government is important?
Yeah, I think any resource for students to develop their leadership skills is important. Specifically because what you learn on campus and what you get involved in on campus will translate over into your professional life. And as much leadership experience you can get, I think, would only help you in the future.
Awesome. So I know you're both out campaigning a lot right now, busy time of year. What are you doing to increase involvement in the student election?
I think the most important thing we're doing to increase involvement is really put ourselves out there. I mean, we're running against 2 other teams, so 3 teams in an executive election is pretty good, pretty big. And so the more times that we just get in people's faces and try to be affable and try to talk to them about what we're trying to do, even if it's 2 seconds walking, down the sidewalk or tabling for 6 hours, I think that's really how you get people, because you can have Facebook pages and you can chalk on sidewalks, but if you're not talking to people, then they're not going to know that you're a real person and you're there for them. So I think that's our main goal.
Yeah, and I've definitely been pushing the importance of voting in general, also tying it to the presidential election. Even though our campus is a much larger scale compared to the rest of the country, or a much smaller scale compared to the rest of the country, it's just as important to vote for representation on campus as it is for our president. And so tying in the importance of voting hopefully will mobilize others to vote.
How do you intend to work with the administration on important issues? This is more directly for Lauren.
Yeah, I definitely, well, the first step is again communicating with the students and hearing their concerns. And then I'm sure there's a policy and protocol as to how to address certain concerns with administration, but I would hope that as a member of the Board of Trustees, or at least getting to sit in, having the opportunity to sit in on those meetings, I could voice some concerns there. I also have an idea that I'm borrowing from another institution. It would be a student concern forum that would happen once a semester or a year, depending on the demand. And students could come and voice their concerns, and then each senator during their office hours would reach out to the different departments that are associated with those issues and concerns, and then we would have answers, hopefully, as a result, and then we print up every question and answer on posters and plaster them all over the school so that everyone can be aware of what's being asked and what's being answered. And I think that would be a good way for both us as executives and all of the senators to communicate more effectively with the administration.
So, how much power does the student president have?
I don't think they have that much power. I think they have more in the sense of the power to do things or the power to persuade people. I think they have power more in the sense of image and the representation. As an RA, I'm very aware of the fishbowl effect and how I'm always being observed and my behavior is always being judged because my job requires that I always act professional, and I know that's the same as a student body president. And so I think that constant observation alludes to power and image, but not so much power in a dictator sense.
So, why should students vote for you two?
There's a long list going on in my head.
Yeah.
I think it's important when you're voting and that there's multiple candidates to not just look at who's better in comparison, but really try to get down to the heart of why you're voting for this specific person. And I think that that's what Lauren and I have. We have a lot of heart and we have a lot of passion for this institution. And I know it's easy for a lot of people to say that, but I think truly we care so much about individual people and individual groups and making the school great and making our student government known. I just think that we're nice, affable ladies that just want to help people out, and that's really what we're here to do. And I think that's the easiest avenue for our students to relate to us, is just seek us out and we'll do our best to solve your problems, and we'll do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so my last question is, you're running against 2 teams that are already on the table, 2 full senator teams. Evan's actually the vice president. What can you bring to the table or offer that's different? And you don't have that experience, so why your team?
Yeah, we don't have that experience, and that's something I think we both wish that we have. I know we both have wanted to be involved in the past, but because of our other commitments, we haven't had the time. But I also think that we both have outside experience working very closely with students, And so even though we don't have experience on the table, we have experience talking with students and representing them and advocating for them. And I think that's just as important.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?